Well, I think if I had to, list priorities, my children are here, so that's the first and foremost in my mind. They're 12, and it's that time in life where I'm able to retire and sit back and kind of enjoy them. So that's the biggest thing. The next thing is whatever I can do to help. There have been a lot of different opportunities and suggestions, but I haven't really decided what I want to do.
What are the opportunities that are, if you have to list your top 3 that you're looking at?
I think crime, helping in any way that I can. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know where I would even fit in on something like that. But, I'm pretty sure I don't want to be a police officer. So, but I think the crime that's going, it's out of control. There's no nice way to say it. I mean, there are people who are getting shot almost daily, and there are people that are afraid for their lives. There are people that are not getting any type of justice for people that and their families that have been killed or hurt bad. And I think that wherever I can be of use, I'm more than willing to be there.
What do we do to impact that? If you had to pick 2 or 3 items to impact the violent crime, and they'll tell you that the other crimes are down, but violent crime is spiking. Everybody admits it. What are 2 or 3 things that we could do immediately to have an impact?
Well, I think the first thing is to not tell you that other crimes are down. I think, from what I hear a lot of excuses about a lot of different things, and that's coming from everyone. I'm certainly not pointing any fingers at anyone. Sure. But, just watching and listening, there's always a conversation about, the parents aren't doing this, or we don't have this, or we don't have that, and I'm kind of a simple mind. I think that law enforcement should enforce crime. Period. Mm-hmm. We don't need to hear your explanations or why you think crime is the way it is. Same side with the legislative side of the city. There's really no finger pointing and saying this person's not doing this or that person's not doing that. It's kind of ridiculous. If you can imagine somebody that's lost your, teenage child to violent crime, and you hear your city leaders or people that are in law enforcement saying, well, if the parents did a better job, if we prayed more, that's not giving them any relief or any comfort. I think it kind of scares a lot of people to know that there's really not anything happening. Just a bunch of
So you're saying that we should be asking for a plan or working on a plan instead of sitting out in the street praying?
No, I don't think we should do that either. I think we should just do what we need to do and move on.
What do we need to do?
I think that looks like law enforcement, and
okay,
I think police. I mean,
as a legislator,
As a legislator, I think the responsibility is to make sure that the police have what they need at any cost. I realize that there are problems. At any cost. I believe and realize that there are problems with the police department, or
a substantial pay increase would be a part of it.
I think a pay increase would be a huge part of it, because you're going to get what you pay for.
Regional average.
When you have police officers that are more concerned about their extra jobs because they have to eat rather than their primary job, then you have a huge problem.
Okay, let me ask you this, Rod, and we're talking with Rod Demery, a former Shreveport detective who was very high profile in this city for a long time, solving, I think, every murder you worked.
Pretty much.
The police chief in a House committee a couple of months ago said, he was asked directly, how many police officers do you have? He said 479. But yet we have fewer than 200 in patrolling our city. Is that something that Rod Demery would look at, would encourage city leaders to say, that's a little out of whack?
Yeah, that's a lot out of whack.
It's closer to 185.
Yeah, that's a lot. Okay. That's a lot out of whack.
Subtract.
When you have a problem, a crime epidemic such as this, all hands are on deck. You need to do whatever you can to make it happen. And I realize that there are some issues, maybe budget constraints, maybe issues politically with the police department or how people feel about police. But the reality is that's your first line of defense. And until you get that up to snuff, you're going to have a problem. I mean, there are basic rules when it comes to law enforcement. You have to find out who did it, and you have to punish them quickly, and it has to be severe enough to deter other people from doing it. When that doesn't happen, then you're going to have people that are emboldened. They're going to do it 2:00 in the afternoon. They're going to shoot up the streets.
But you have people screaming for criminal justice reform, and you heard the sheriff possibly say, that let a lot of people out that just recommitted crimes. There has to be some sort of balance. When the punishment, you said it has to be harsh enough. But folks want criminal justice reform. They don't want people just thrown away and we're going to forget about them.
Yeah, I don't know that, people mix mix up punishments and crimes. Something low level, something that's nonviolent. That's one thing. But when you have people that are shooting people and you have people that are committing violent crimes, there has to be a consequence. The reality is that when our unit was working, we had maybe a national average of 85% clearance on homicides. So there was a 15% chance you could get away with murder. When you have that number flipped, more people are going to be bold enough to do it. I think the focus should be on violent crime. I think that should be the priority. I think there should be a priority in the law enforcement.
You were here in the early 90s when we had our highest murder.
No, actually, I got here in 99.
So you were after that.
Right, I was after that.
Okay, but you heard a lot and you saw a lot of the aftermath of what we did. What were some of the things we did in those years that you were privy to that did work, that maybe we should try now?
I think aggressive policing, aggressive patrol, and that's not to say that you can't strike a balance where people don't feel like they're violated or abused or somehow whatever whatever's going on now in society. I think police are a unit or an organization that should be focused on one thing, and that's preserving life and property. I think when we get into the weeds and start talking about other things that police could or should do is where we have a problem.